cool. There you go.
Got it.
All
Okay.
right. So we're
Can you
ready.
hear my dings in the background when my mail hits or no? Okay, good.
No, I can't
Yeah,
hear anything.
my
No, you're fine.
headphones. Perfect.
Your head is moving in and out of your background, but it's okay. You're good. Just keep your head, you know, steady
Well, it
front.
falls off sometimes. So
This is, this is, there we go.
my
All
name's
right.
Willie Doorknob. My head screws off. You
Yeah,
can tell me
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Okay. And scene.
And scene. Well, we already started recording, so it's too late for that. So the people are gonna. This
So
is
you
what
can
people are gonna
edit
get.
it.
Yeah. So this is much more of a. This is much more of a Mark Maron kind of just. Oh, you're recording? Yeah, we're recording. Okay, we're just recording. It's one of those. It's one of those kinds of podcasts. So I tend to I just let it go. It's fine. It's good. People like to hear it. They like to hear it. It feels. This feels to the people like a natural conversation. Like we're just two people sitting around, table having a cup of coffee, just talking about stuff.
Oh, so this whole agenda you gave me that we have to talk about, we can throw that out the. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we can throw the whole sure we can throw the whole freaking agenda out the window and talk about whatever you want.
There was no agenda. Speaking to the
there,
microphone, there was no agenda.
you're darn right there was an agenda. No, you know what? I'll own it. Absolutely, there was an agenda.
Here's what I'm going to attempt to ask you, Cheryl.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
luck getting a word in. No.
exactly. Yeah. Well, we may just talk like football the whole time or something. I don't know.
Hey, we did that last time. It was great.
We did, yes, which was what prompted this conversation. So I will ask you a basic question. That way
Sure.
people can
I'll shut up.
Well, I hope not. We can't have dead air the whole time.
Well,
Although
to
that
let
would
you
be,
talk.
well, that would be an interesting experiment, right? Just to have like a podcast of nothing but dead air.
Or just you asking questions and somebody just looking dead at you like, what?
Yeah,
Oh, next
yeah.
question? Huh? I don't know. Okay, we're having too much fun.
You got the I don't know on the audio, and that's like the whole thing. And then the title of the podcast is I don't know.
What do you talk about? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
So
well,
you had a question. Go for it.
I had one question. Well, I have several questions. I mean, inquiring minds want to know. So, who are you and what do you do?
I'm a woman that's proud to be a woman. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Hi, my name's Cheryl. I'm an
We're
alcoholic now.
gonna go right for it, aren't we? We're gonna go right for the jugular. Are you proud? Are you proud to be? I'm gonna do the NPR thing. Are you proud to be a woman in the current climate?
Hmm.
And by the way, I mean the climate of the weather where you're at.
It's storming here, so yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, all right. It's like 93 degrees where I'm at, which is awfully narrowly specific, but okay,
It actually cooled off. It was lots of thunder. So,
okay, all right. Well,
but who am
are,
I? I
who are you?
am. I consider myself a person of service.
Okay.
What do I mean by that?
Yeah, what do you mean
So,
by that? I didn't even ask that question. She asked that question herself, and then she's going to answer it. This is how we know it's going to be a good interview. It's going to be a good conversation.
as of right now, Jesan doesn't have to say anything.
No,
Cheryl will have a conversation with herself.
I, there you go. I'm just a pretty face, just hanging out.
Along for the ride. Is your
Just along for
seatbelt
the ride.
on?
Click.
Squirrel. Um, I am an entrepreneur at heart. First business was when I was very, very young, 8 years old. Mental capacity to understand that I like to turn opportunity into success for myself and for others. So landing as a business advisor, what I'm doing now, and have kind of done it for about the past 10 years as far as a job is concerned. Um, I enjoy it. Being an entrepreneur, going through those pitfalls, going through those costly mistakes, being able to pivot, recoup, and go on, and then work with other entrepreneurs that are striving to be something better, to bring a product to market, a service to market, whatever the case may be that they're passionate about, and there's opportunity for them to grow. I like to partner with them and help them do that. I love to see success.
Love to see success. Okay, all right. So, business advising. This is going to be like the driest question ever in like the history
What's
questions.
business advising?
What is? Can you tell us a little bit more about business advising?
Sure. So the best way I can explain it is you have your business coaches, right? You have your business consultants, and then you have your business advisors. So
Why did you
those are
point
the
to me when you were saying business
three
consultant?
general, because I like to point.
Okay, well, that's fine. I'm not going to tell the woman where to put her finger. So, Wow, that was terrible. That was terrible. Even
That was like a lob that I could really hit out of the park, but we'll keep this clean.
Well, I could put an E for explicit next to the episode, but
So that's if I drop an F-bomb. I'm from New York, so that's to be
it's fine.
expected.
Like I don't. Wait, hold on a second. We didn't talk about that part. Where in New York?
I was born in Brooklyn and grew up on Long Island.
Yo, top of the food chain. Yo, Brooklyn. Yo, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's in the house.
My mom was born in Brooklyn.
Big ups to Brooklyn.
And, I never got my arms around those people. I got my arms around my mom. When I was a little kid, like I would hug her or whatever. But like,
alligator arms. We have an issue with that.
I don't know. Brooklyn. It's a lot of yelling, a lot of assertion.
That's how New Yorkers are. Period.
No,
we actually just had a conversation about that yesterday. Me and my other half.
Okay.
We're talking about somebody had asked me, he's like, "Why is he yelling?" It's like, it's not yelling. That's how they communicate.
It's just assertive communication. Although people in Manhattan, they don't yell at you; they just run you over. Like they have no patience for like the yelling part. Folks in Queens, they will yell. They're kind of a little bit more like Frank Costanza's father, or like Jerry Seinfeld, like Costanza's dad, Jerry Stiller. They're a little more like that. Yeah, they will yell at you. They'll be all over that shuffleboard court, and they'll be everywhere, and they forget their train of thought, and then they just go on the subway.
Okay.
And then Long Island, I don't know what's going on there. And it's not Long Island, it's Long Island.
Long Island. It's Long Island.
Long Island. You guys say
Island.
You say it back in your throat.
I'm verklempt. It's part of the Brooklyn part that goes out to Long Island. That verklemptness has to stay with you.
The closest. So I never went to Long Island. My wife did many, many times. When she was in high school and all that. Parties. I don't know. Apparently parties on Long Island. I don't know. I saw the sign that said Long Island that way, and I just never went that way. So I was looking, I don't feel like I need to go there.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
So my wife was born in upstate New York, and so, which is like a totally different
country.
Right, it's the rest of the United States, which is what I had to tell all the when I would go to Brooklyn or wherever else we had clients. When I lived in New York State, when I would go there, I'd be like, they don't know where you are either. So just calm down there, Chachi. I don't know where that is. Yeah, well, they don't know where you are either. What's your point? And then all of a sudden, everybody would calm down. We could have a reasonable conversation.
There you go.
Anyway, so you were born in Brooklyn. Okay, what did you do in Brooklyn that led you to being like a business advisor? And then Long Island. Was it Long Island? Did you start like the like? Because what were you selling when you were like a kid? Okay, Long Island.
Mostly Long Island.
Because most kids who, or most people who are serial entrepreneurs, they're like Warren Buffett. They started like moving stocks when they were like 8, or like getting people to whitewash a fence or something at like 7. You have a similar thing?
I was a bubblegum hustler at 8.
Bubblegum hustler. What does that mean? I don't even know what
that
means.
So I was selling gum and candy by the piece in school at lunchtime. I'd buy a pack of gum for $0.25, sell it by the piece for $0.25. Making a nice little profit.
And you never got knocked off? Like nobody was ever like, get out of town.
Well, remember, I'm from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
People don't mess with people from the city. I know people.
Oh, you know people? I know people too. Everybody knows people. Everybody got people everywhere. Now, what kind of bubble gum was it? Was it like mellow yellow? Was it like the striped bubble gum? Like
Hubba Bubba.
Okay, Hubba Bubba.
Bubblicious, Bazooka. Oh, wow.
Bazooka.
Bubble gum, yeah. And
so did you take apart like the bubble gum when you were selling it and pull out the little bazooka toy and which is like a cheap paper thing usually, and then like did you sell that separately?
No. So
that's a Gary Vee move. Gary Vee would have tried to sell that separately.
No, so you could buy it by the piece. So
okay.
They have these big buckets at the stationery store when they had stationery stores back in the day where you could get your stationery, your cigarettes, your candy, the essentials in life.
Yeah.
That was next door to the delicatessen. That was next door to the bakery, right?
Okay.
So everything was separate, as opposed to now it's like one-stop shopping.
Right.
The supermarket, everything's there. But no, didn't sell that separately. I used to buy them by the piece for 2 cents and sell them for 25 cents.
Okay. And then what did you do with that 23 cents extra?
I would put it in my pocket and save it for a rainy day. And anytime I went shopping with mom, I would buy shit that I didn't need.
It's fine. You're fine.
I would buy crap I didn't need, right? Little toys and stuff. That's actually how I got caught, because I bought one of those Chinese paper yo-yos that had come out, and I'm in the back seat of the car and wrapping it. My mother's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing." Where'd you get that from? Did you steal it? Did you steal money from me? How did it happen? And when I disclosed how I did it, she was amazed.
You wouldn't be the first businessman that got turned over by a Chinese yo-yo, so you wouldn't be the first one.
But I'm bummed.
But hey, it's all there. So I'll just sit now.
Take it for what it is.
It's just gonna take the whole thing. Okay, so you're selling bubble gum. You're making money. You're buying Chinese yo-yos. You're reinvesting because you're like 10. You're like, I don't know. You're not Warren Buffett. You're not like, ooh, I could buy some stocks with this. Like, you weren't going in that direction. And then from bubble gum, did you move into cigarettes, or did you move Did you move over like parallel?
Went hardcore to drugs, straight to drugs. By the time I was 10, I was selling heroin. You know, just easy transition. No. No, it actually transitioned over into, by the time I was 11, I was doing bookkeeping for my parents' friends, like balancing their checkbooks and doing stuff like that. So, yeah, transition. Anything about money. When I was a kid, they used to be like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I used to say rich.
That's a simple answer. I mean, it covers everything.
And everyone would be like, "Oh."
Well, I mean, this is what, like back in the 80s?
70s,
80s. Yeah, like people didn't know what to do with that answer back then. They were like, okay. These days, though, like you'd have been funneled like right into a Montessori school, and like you're going directly to finance, and you're going to be working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, making $80,000 a year, like 22, and no entrepreneurship for you. You're going right to PwC.
Could you imagine? God bless those people that do that.
I used to teach some of those people. It's fine. Like at the end of it, you
the acronym for fine, literally.
I don't know what that is, but I'm going to leave that aside for just a second. No, it was you realize that like if you had shown up to teach those people about like how finance actually really works, not what they're reading in the book, you would discover the massive gap between what they think works and what actually works.
Huge gap.
And then you'd also tell them what that gap is, and then you would watch their faces fall in disappointment at having blown like 6 figures in student loan debt, or acquired 6 figures in student loan debt. But a lot of those people weren't worried because like their moms or dads were footing the bill or something. Like they had it figured out. So they were like, yeah, it doesn't matter. The arbitrage here doesn't matter. So I was like, well, okay. Don't come work for me. I want you balancing my books. God bless you and everything. You're great, but don't please stay in PricewaterhouseCoopers. No, there were a few people who I was like, no, you're fine. Like it's good. But the vast majority of them, like, and a lot of them were immigrants from East Asia, and so China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Korea, so Japan. A lot of folks from Japan, and it was a very much honor driven, and sometimes not responding to feedback well, and I have to make this work because if I don't, like,
I've got nothing. I've put everything into this.
Yeah, and like I'm the one kid from my family who's like gotten off the mainland of wherever, and now I'm here, and this better work, sucker. So I don't want to hear about your entrepreneurial dream because I don't care about it. That does not exist in this dojo. But anyway, okay. So you were in finance, and anything having to do with money and being rich.
Yes.
And making sure that the budgets of local neighborhood families balanced. Did you do a better job than the federal government is currently doing with its budget?
I would say yes, because families don't have imaginary money they can spend. So, and just go into unlimited amount of debt.
Right.
It does catch up at some point. So I would say
and no
Yeah.
household is a reserve currency for the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, unless it's that household over there that we all know about.
Yeah, I remember I grew up in a neighborhood where we play ring and run on our own houses, it's a cul-de-sac and entertain yourselves. Whose mom could we piss off first?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're balancing the checkbooks, you're doing the thing. You didn't bother with college. You did go to college, or what?
I actually did go to college, and that's when my next entrepreneurial ventureship happened, where I did nails in my dorm room to help me pay for books, pay for school, pay for gas. And that was when you had to pay a telephone bill that was thousands of dollars when you made phone calls. So, yeah, I worked for Ma Bell while I was in college.
So that's like the perfect merging of like Long Island and entrepreneurship right there, like the nail culture.
Yes. And it was big. Now you have to, back then, that was late 80s, early 90s. It was like, I don't know, in town. I priced it out. I did my research.
Mhm.
It was $60 for like a full set of nails in town, which was like a mile up from the dorm. And I was like, I can charge $25. And then, people would call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, drunk. I broke a nail. Can you fix it? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I gotta get it fixed for the morning. I gotta blah, blah, blah. Okay. And I could, supercharge them. Oh, that's my ride. I gotta go. Just kidding.
Okay, bye.
That was a car
Somebody's,
horn, wasn't it?
somebody's beeping at me. I don't know. Anyway, well, I mean, I like to know that they care. So that's always good. I like that.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, the 2 beeps show you care, but like 3 beeps, that's a beep too far. Like that's harassment. Then you're getting into something else.
That's
So,
irritation. They're angry about something.
yeah, and I don't really. There's enough anger in America right now. I don't think we need to add to the cuppeth that runneth over. So you're doing nails. The
It's a
image
flood.
yeah, the image I have in my head is of the scene in Goodfellas
Which one?
where where all of the women are doing the hair and the nails, and it's the you know which one I'm talking about.
Less the blue
Yeah, the
eyeshadow
blue eyeshadow and the
and the
big mole,
coiffed hair.
and the cropped
Yeah,
hair and
I
the
didn't have the
mole.
big hair. And there
Yeah.
wasn't a bunch of us. It was usually me and my roommate and the one other person.
Okay.
And
All right.
just three, not a
Okay.
room full.
All right. I don't know why.
Unless it was during the day, then yeah,
Yeah,
potentially.
and somebody's complaining about beating their kid with a shoe or something.
Oh, they used to complain how they got beat with a shoe.
Yeah, or that.
'Cause
Okay.
no one
So
really
you,
had kids.
so you had
They were all
you,
in college.
well, you had the children of the women in the scene in Goodfellas.
Potentially, yes.
You had their kids. We're all going to we're going to college. Gonna make some of myself. Maybe.
Yeah, no. I don't know. Maybe.
So you
I'll
did the
get back to
nails.
you on that one.
Okay. Well, oh, don't worry. We're gonna cycle back around to it. We're gonna talk about everything. So you did the nails. You're making the money. I'm assuming you got some other side hustles going on at the time because college you can like expand your base of hustle because it's just there's so many opportunities in college and there's no rules. Like that's what people don't understand about college. There's literally no rules here. Like everybody's just making it up as they go along. Like really. And if you violate the rules, there's no
Consequence.
yeah, there's nothing going. I mean, what are they gonna do? Kick you out? Like they're happy that you're here. Like they don't want you to go.
Right.
So what did you get your degree in, or did you get a degree? Did you finish?
Yes, I finished. I got a degree in finance.
Oh, okay, okay. So you actually
Imagine
got a
that.
degree. The thing.
I think I'm one of the few people on this earth that actually got a degree that I was interested in getting, and I'm using it today.
Yeah. See, most entrepreneurs I know, they got a degree in something else, and they got bitten by the bug, and then they just walked away from. That was me. Like, just walked away from whatever they initially were in, and they like had to pick up all the things that you know. They just had to pick them up through trial and error. They're just like, yeah, I'm gonna trial and error the hell out of this. Figure this out. But you didn't do that. Okay. So you could have taken a finance degree anywhere. You could have gone anywhere with that. You could have gone to an accounting firm. You could have gone to you know, I don't know, working at a CE, working at a CEO, but working in a major organization, you know, as a CFO, working your way up into that kind of role. Why didn't you do any of that?
I did some of it, but most of my career I focused on a smaller business. So
Okay.
before I left New York, I was actually offered an internship with AIG.
Okay.
And it came, I guess, 2 days after I'd actually moved. So everything happens the way it's supposed to. But I was more so on the entrepreneurial path. And what made me decide that was moving back home after college, back to Long Island, and taking the LIRR into the city for my interviews in my blue suit, my white blouse, my sneakers, my shoes in my bag, right? My newspaper, my Wall Street Journal. And I looked up and I looked like everybody else on the train. And I said, no, I'm not going to be a number in some major corporation where I'm going to have to kill myself to do something, get somewhere. Just not going to deal with it. And I decided to up and leave and focused on working with smaller businesses and starting other businesses, the entrepreneurship route.
I think you're probably in the same age range as the venture capitalist Peter Thiel, because he had a similar. He went to law school. I mean, he went to Stanford and went to Stanford Law, and he actually got hired at one of those blue chip law firms in New York City. I think it was in New York City. And he tells the story of like realizing the first day he was there that everybody who was inside of the blue chip law firm wanted to be outside, and that everybody who had been yelling at him for years to get inside of one of those firms wanted to be inside the firm. And he was like, "Screw this! This is not going to work." And then he went off and found Elon Musk, I guess. And yeah, he did. He went off and found Elon Musk and hooked up with him. And then like that's it. That's been like his entire life ever since.
Damn, I didn't know I should have looked for Elon Musk. Man,
Well,
if I could do it all over again, I'd do it just a little bit differently.
well, that guy was in South Africa in the early '90s, calling. Interestingly enough, I was told a story by somebody up in New York on a totally unrelated topic, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I took Elon Musk's call one time." I was like, "Oh, tell me about this." And so he's like, "Oh yeah, like this kid from South Africa called in like the late '80s when I was working as a salesman with IBM." Asking about computer chip parts for some wacko project he was working on. And like nobody wanted to talk to him. And eventually he came around to me and I was like, "Who the hell is this?" He goes, "Well, my name is Elon Musk and I would like to buy some computer chips from you. And I heard that you could buy computer chips from IBM and I'm in South Africa. I would like to buy these from you." And he's like, "Whatever." And he like sold him some computer chips and he's like, "Whatever, that kid." And I think that's how things happen. I think like random people call you and you're like, "I don't know, there's some schmuck from over there." And then you just walk away. And then 30 years later, well, that schmuck has bought Twitter and a bunch of people's hair is on fire now over there. And you
That's
probably should have paid attention to him.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. But then he could have turned out to be like Shlomo, Schlumpy, on the street, like doing nothing. You don't know.
You don't.
You don't know.
You don't. That's why it helps to function with grace and patience, right?
Yeah, well,
As he sighs. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I
Twist
guess.
my arm. Twist my arm, I guess.
A fair bit of humility. That also is helpful.
Just a little bit. Can we
Okay.
at least pretend we care, Hazel?
We can. I'm going to pretend I care. I'm going to put my pretend I care face on. Okay, so yeah, yeah, and scene. And so you're this is, I'm assuming this is the 90s, right? You're on the LIR. You're going back and forth. This is like the mid 90s, sometime right around there.
Early 90s, yeah.
Early 90s. Okay, so
I'm old.
well, I don't know what that means, but like right on the cusp of like I would presume right at the end of like George Bush's 1,000 Points of Light speech and Bill Clinton's like, "Hey, it's going to be great. I'm Bill Clinton. Isn't it awesome?" Just before Monica Lewinsky and all that kind of nonsense. It's like in that era, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess. I remember correctly.
Okay, so this will just give you how old. Just I was like 12 then. Like that. I mean, yeah, it was a golden era because I was like 12, so it was great. I was not selling bubblegum at the time at all. I was doing other things. But anyway,
Care to share what that was?
I was beating up people for their lunch money.
A bully.
No.
So you're a reformed bully.
No. I actually, so I was the kind of person who would beat up the bullies.
Yay.
So, if I saw somebody getting bullied, I was like, "Oh, no, that's not, that dog don't hunt. Why don't you try that over here?"
I'm with you on that.
So I took my fair share of beatings, but I also handed out my fair share of beatings. So it wasn't totally untenable at the time.
And you didn't become a boxer. Amazing.
No, I mean, many years later, after I went to high school in Louisiana and had a whole bunch of other things happen to me, about the last time my mother had to sew me up, sew my face back up, from getting my face messed up. Actually, I have an old scar. You can't really see it. It's on my upper lip. But after all that nonsense, I remember her standing there in the doctor's office going, "So if you're going to keep getting messed up like this, you might want to learn how to fight." It's like, I'm doing fine so far. What are you talking about?
This isn't going to work anymore.
You mean that's not the move? She's like, "No, that's not the move." So after that, I got into traditional taekwondo, which is not to be confused with like what you see in the Olympics. That's trash garbage. But I got into like traditional taekwondo with like a Korean from like Korea who like ran over rocks and stuff, and did that for a long time. And now I do, and then many years later, now I do jiu-jitsu. So I mean, there you go.
So how'd you transition into the jiu-jitsu from taekwondo? Was it a natural progression, or
No,
were
it's
you
been
just
terrible.
frustrated
It's been
and
terrible.
needed to really roll around the mat with people?
Well, in between that, I played rugby for a lot of years. I played and coached
Makes
rugby.
sense.
So rugby's like,
Very physical.
yeah, and you're gonna be rolling around with dudes anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of the thing that's gonna happen, and it's fine. It is what it is. But you do a fair bit of running, which is also nice. And so it's running and hitting and all of this. No, the jiu-jitsu took me like 10 years after being done with rugby to be like, okay, fine, I'll go do that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
fine.
never did that.
You have to be of a certain mindset to do it. It requires a level of, you'll appreciate this being with your finance background and the serial entrepreneurship piece, because this also matches that, but it requires a certain level of a lack of ego. And I don't mean like I don't have a big head or like being arrogant. That's not what I'm talking about. What I mean is you have to go in with the idea, you have to go into jiu-jitsu with the idea that everybody can be beaten by everybody else on any given day. And beaten means, it can mean submitted, it can mean tapping out, it can mean getting choked, it can mean I've just had enough. No mas. It can mean any of that. It can mean any of that. And there's no strikes in classic jiu-jitsu, so it's all grappling and body movements and all that kind of stuff. But I know strikes from taekwondo, but I can't do any of them because that'll create a bigger problem. So I don't do any of them. I don't feel like dealing with that problem.
Okay.
Well,
I can dig it.
people get offended when you like bringing over stuff that doesn't relate to like whatever it is they're doing. Like people get offended in a conversation. You're like, I was talking about the financial reserve. Oh, well, what about Twinkies? What?
They've made a comeback.
I think that in the next couple of years they're going to be extremely popular for a whole variety of reasons.
Actually, they have sprinkles in them now. I saw a box at the checkout this weekend. Twinkies with sprinkles.
They are. So, I don't know if you know the guy Jocko Willink. He's a Navy SEAL leadership development guy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So he has a book called the Leadership Field Manual or something like that, or Strategy and Tactics, or the Code or something. The manual, I think, is what it's called. Anyway, point is, he has a whole section in there because he's a big fitness guy, right? He's a big like 4:30 in the morning fitness guy. I'm gonna get up, gonna go crush it. Every single morning, he takes a picture of his watch and puts it on social media to prove that he's up. People like it.
He gets a cookie.
No. He doesn't believe in. Oh God, no. There's a whole section in the book that says donuts are sugar-coated lies.
They're sugar-coated lies.
Sugar-coated lies, and basically, and you can hear him. Like, have you ever heard his podcast? He kind of talks like this, like really close to the microphone. And then I went out and I garroted him in the back. It's that kind of podcast. Like it's military history and that kind of stuff. So he's like reading really hard stuff.
Nice.
And he's got the voice, and when you look at him, he looks like a big old silverback gorilla. Like you're not gonna. But he's an English major, and got like an English degree, and like he's smart. So he's a dangerous silverback, and he does jujitsu, which is the other thing. So he's dangerous, and he actually knows how to fight. He's got all the things like mixed together, right?
He's
And
checking all the boxes.
all the boxes, every single one of them down the line.
Check. Married, kids.
Oh yeah, yep. Married someone.
Survived PTSD. Preaches about it.
He was, I think him and his groups, SEAL Team Bruiser, I think. The SEAL team was at the Battle of Fallujah back in the day after they hung our soldiers from the bridge and were like, come and get some. And he was like, okay, I'll accommodate you.
Be there in a minute.
Be there. All you have to do is ask. Come right over.
Say the word.
Let me grab my kit and my boys. And we will be right over to accommodate you. And then we did. We went over right there and we accommodated them. But yeah, no, so he does. He has a whole section in there. And you can hear it in his voice just about, if I see you holding a donut, I'm going to yell at you to step away. That's right, you with the powdered sugar on your fingers. Don't lick your fingers.
That's pretty scary.
Put that donut down. And you're like, whoa.
Like, is it a bomb? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Is it anthrax? This isn't sugar? What?
Makes you want to go out and do burpees at like 4:30 in the afternoon. For some reason. But all right, so
I would play Russian roulette before I did a burpee. Burpees are not fun. Anyway, okay.
They build your character though.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. He would assert that they do. He would assert that burpees build character.
An angry character, maybe, because you hate doing the freaking burpees, but okay. Anyway, we'll move past. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
I'm just saying. I saw somebody this morning when I went to the gym at like 4:30. Saw somebody do. I saw somebody. I mean, she was doing like 20 or 30 burpees, and like that was her set. And I was like, God bless you. And then I just left.
So you go to the gym to watch other people exercise, and you feel fulfilled, and then you leave.
Yeah, and then I leave. Yeah, doesn't everybody do that? It's like that's the purpose of the gym, right? Actually,
social environment.
Buddy of mine sent me a great picture of a guy on the incline bench press, on the incline bench. This is like in Georgia, at a YMCA in Georgia, just like sleeping.
I could see that. He wasn't passed out from his workout. He was catching some Z's.
No, you just needed a place to sleep, and there you go.
Wow, didn't know the homeless could get into gyms to sleep.
Well, I think if you can get a guest pass in Georgia, you're probably fine. Texas is a different beast. Don't try that here. Don't recommend it, because number one, there's a very fit woman doing burpees in the morning, and she will not tolerate you being on the incline bench.
Sleeping.
She'll not. That dog don't hunt here.
I guess not.
Like
Georgia.
Georgia. I don't know what they're doing over there. It's Georgia. Don't know what's happening over there.
Well, Georgia banned Ray Charles.
Yes.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
They did. So, well,
kind of explains a lot.
So after having lived up north for 25 years and now back in the South, and technically speaking, the western part of the South, I went to high school in Louisiana, which I think I've already mentioned. But B, and my Louisiana experience was not great. I did not enjoy any of that in the mid-90s. None of that. No. But you do get the sense that, like, and maybe it happened over the last 20 or 30 years, that, like, the South shifted. And I don't know that it's because the people changed here.
Because there's more Northerners down here.
It might have been the inflow. But the Southerners aren't having any of it. They're like, oh, that's interesting.
They're pissed.
They're pissed, right? Oh, oh, you have an opinion. Oh, that's interesting.
Bless your heart.
And when they say that, they don't really mean bless your heart.
You're one of those damn Yankees, Cheryl. I said, yep.
That's right.
He's like, you know what that means? I said, if there's another civil war, you may win this time because
Don't go directly to, don't poke them directly with the Civil War stick. That's a sure way to rile them up. Can't rile people up here. You gotta be nice. I've
got this long poker I like to use.
That's what she uses for her business coaching, folks. She uses a long poker.
And he lobbed it in again, and I'm gonna let it pass.
Well, okay, so I walked past a tattoo parlor the other day with my wife. We were on a date night and walked past a tattoo parlor, and it was the pink something.
It's a good name, the pink something.
It is a good name, but that wasn't it. It was
It was that memorable.
It was right. But it relates to this idea of the South and poking. It looks like there's like three ideas that come together in that one name, and I can't think of the last name of the place. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The pink poker?
It might have been the pink cylinder, something like that. And I'm just like,
okay.
That's not. My wife looks at me and goes, do you know what that means? I was like, yeah, I'm aware. Let's cross the street. We don't need to. What are we doing here? Oh, we're trying to get to the jazz club. That's what we're trying to do. So.
Oh, did you make it? Was it good?
Yeah, no, the jazz club was great. It was an open mic kind of thing, and it was really good, actually. You had a couple good saxophonists, good trombonists. My wife
Not like the Apollo. If they stunk, you could boo them off stage.
No. It's much more polite here. No, it's not that brutal.
Oh, that's right. You're in the South. So
it's bless your heart. And now can we get them off?
Okay, next.
Well, no, I mean there was an old man who came on, and he sang like a Billie Holiday song or something, and it was really good. He like laid it out. It was really good. It was very emotional, and he's an old man, and so like. Yeah, he hit all the notes. I was surprised. I was like, I did not know that old man had that in him. Wow, that's pretty good.
And I wasn't Tony Bennett, was it?
No. It was not. Nor was it Mel Torme. He's dead.
He's dead.
No, it wasn't any of those folks. No. I wish it was Tony Bennett though. I do have a question for him though, which is just a passing thought, maybe for Tony. Christina Aguilera. What's going on there? Why are you hanging around her?
Christina Aguilera?
Yeah, he did an album with her.
Lady Gaga.
Oh, yeah, and her too. That other one. Yeah.
Lady Gaga opened for him for his last show.
Oh, she did?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Where was that? Was that in Vegas? Like where
New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his poor guy. Yeah, he wouldn't remember that anyway if you asked him now.
Yeah.
Dementia and all,
Mm-hmm. Well, old age comes for everybody.
Yeah. I saw him. I used to take my grandmother when she was alive. We used to go gambling all the time together. And there were a couple places we saw him in Atlantic City, and we also saw him in Vegas.
Okay.
Together. And I saw him here. He actually came to St. Augustine, Florida. And he had actually dropped something. And it was like the longest 10 minutes ever of him slowly bending. And everybody's like, like holding your breath. And then he got it slowly came up and held it up. And everybody cheered for him.
Cheered.
85 years old, you could still bend down and pick something up. That deserves a round of applause. So,
I can't wait to get rounds of applause for that kind of stuff in 40 years. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
I'm hoping that people will say, no, let me get that for you. So I won't have to do it.
the way we're going. I might have to get it myself anyway. No. I'll take 10 minutes. It's fine. Let's go over there.
Or just have a cane that you can take off the end and it becomes a grabber and put the end back on. There you go. There's an invention.
Or my AI-powered personal assistant that will just look like Scarlett Johansson and magically just show up and just be like, I'll get it for you. I'm like, okay, fine.
So why Scarlett Johansson? I like her
It's the first
and the
name that
roles
popped
that
into my
she's
head.
played. Oh, okay.
Probably because I saw Sing 2 the other night, and she's the voice of the porcupine. So I had that in my head. Yeah. But when I said Scarlett Johansson, I was thinking of the porcupine from Sing 2. So I wasn't thinking of the
So
person.
you pictured a porcupine going there and taking its hand and handing it back to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
There's a
Weird.
deeper side to Jesan that we're starting to uncover.
Starting to peel the layers of the onion. Okay, so you're on the train. You're like, screw this action. I don't want to do any of this.
Yes.
And then how do you get to small businesses from screw this action to like I'm
I
on the
just
train?
packed up and moved south to Atlanta
Okay.
for the Olympics. So this is about a year or so before the Olympics came, and wound
Okay.
up getting, an office administrator, manager, bookkeeper position with a dollar store chain. They had 6 stores.
Okay. Yeah.
So started there and then wound up doing side hustles from there and just kept going.
Okay.
Kept going.
What is it about being an entrepreneur that like because there's two different kinds of mindsets, right? There's an employee mindset and there's an entrepreneur mindset. And from what I have seen, the employee mindset is one of security, and I don't really want to ride the lightning, and because I got problems in my other parts of my life that I got to deal with, and it's just easier to solve that problem and just call it solved, and it's going to open up a whole other can of worms or snakes, depending upon your perspective. But I don't want to deal with that, so I'm going to just solve that problem because people for like 12 years have told me that's the way you solve that problem. Cool. Whereas an entrepreneur goes, oh, it's not that bad. Like, what's the big deal? That looks like a solvable problem.
Risk versus risk averse, and then what's been ingrained in you, right?
Right.
There's from, the baby boomers were raised in an environment where you get that job, you keep it for 30 years, you get the parachute, and that was ingrained. Oh, no, go get the paycheck. That's the most stable. You want stability and stuff like that. And I didn't like working for jerks. I didn't like working for dumb people. And I guess it sparked, and I don't mind taking risk. Anytime I go into something, I say, what's the worst thing that can happen if
Right.
I go forward with this? And if I'm okay with the worst that can happen, I go for it.
You go for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a really good metric for success. I actually say what's the worst possible thing that can happen, and then usually the worst possible thing does happen, and then I'm like, well, God, that was it. Okay, that was the thing. Great, I didn't anticipate that, or I did, and I just maybe didn't make enough contingency plan to deal with it, and then you're just like building the parachute after you've already fallen out of the plane. Sometimes that's a little bit not
It happens.
pleasant. Yeah. Well, I think about it in terms of poker and chess. And I've said this before, but I think about it in terms of poker and chess. The entrepreneur learns from chess that all games are long games. All games are strategic. All games are long games. And just because my bishop got taken today doesn't mean that I won't get over that doesn't mean that my pawn won't get all the way on the other side and I'll get to be a queen again. One of those things doesn't counteract the other. But poker sits underneath that where, oh, I'm putting bets down on this game at this table, like the real estate game. I'm putting bets, like my wife and I are doing some stuff in real estate right now. It's like, okay, we're putting bets down here. Mm-hmm. And do I have enough money to stay at this table? And sometimes it's money, most of the times it's will, but do I have enough will or enough money, or did I measure the risk appropriately to stay at this table long enough to put down more money on bets that are of a higher and higher order, right? Mm-hmm. With more and more risk? Or am I gonna, like in the movie Rounders, am I gonna round all day? And am I just gonna play short games all day and just make my rent and go home? Like, what am I gonna do? And that's the entrepreneur mindset. It's poker and chess together, and you don't know which one is which based on what decision you're making,
Right.
and you don't know which game you're playing. And it's weird because like you could be doing just fine at one table and just totally blowing it at another one.
Well,
And
that's because things change in entrepreneurship. The
right,
players are different, right? Chess, it's a little different.
chess is more about the strategy.
Yes.
It's more about just knowing that you have to have strategic thinking, even if you're blowing it at the table. You might be blowing it at the table. You might have lost all your pieces, and now you're down to you're down to your king, which sucks, and you're down to a pawn, which also sucks.
It sucks even more.
But you can get across the board, and you can win that game. It's just the percentage probability is incredibly low. But okay, that's what I learned. All right. Which one comes first, the stupid people or the or the dumb people? Like which one was like I don't want to. You didn't want to work with stupid people, and you didn't want to work with people who basically like didn't respect you, right? So which one is the higher order in those two? Like which one is the driver for you?
It's probably the lack of respect first,
Okay.
and then the, I won't say dumb people, but people, you come across those people that just make money in spite of themselves.
What are those people like? I've never.
Oblivious.
Okay. Okay. I've never met those people before. Or maybe it's because I run in narrow circles. But like almost everybody that I know who has made money in one form or another busted their tail. Like in one form or another. Like they may have busted their tail long before they showed up to meet you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can remember one of the many sort of entrepreneurs that I've met in my time. He built this one company and then he pivoted, did something else, and pivoted, did something else, and sold like 3 companies in like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of which became publicly traded, the other 2 became nothing, and now he has money. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty
Kudos
good.
to him.
Right. I mean, that's okay. But then I run across people who are like, I don't know. I put money in the stock market here and I follow this incredibly closely. And I like thinking of somebody right now. Like I put money in the stock market and I'm following this incredibly closely. Like this is this is down $2 and I'm going to sell it when it goes up to 4. Or this is down 4 and I'm going to sell it when it goes back up to 2. Or I'm going to buy more. Like the people that I tend to run into who are making money tend to be very strategic. I don't think I've ever met anybody who's just oblivious, who like just sort of tripped and fell. Well, there is a person in my family who sort of tripped and fell. Never mind. I take back the entire line of questioning. My entire line of questioning was fallacious.
I won't bring up politics, but
No,
our
we're not
past
political.
president was proof of that. So just saying.
Well, you had to do some work. I think we have to define what work is.
Like, there you go.
That's where I think we're caught on.
There's the caveats.
We have to define what work is. And what work is for me, and what work is for you, and what work may be for other folks is not the same thing.
Definitely not.
All work is not equal. Okay, so
That's for sure.
So
Well,
you're
it's
serious.
proof that women get paid, what, 79 cents on the dollar for the same amount of work that they do that a man does. So,
Well, if you look at it, actually, if you break that down, interestingly enough, not to push back against that wonderful talking point. However, if you look at the amount of women who are graduating not only with degrees but who are also going into high-end positions on a position by position basis, women actually get paid, particularly, and actually it's specifically we get into the specific kinds of women that it is. So single unmarried women get paid actually more than single unmarried men these days, which is shocking.
well, that's good. It's about time.
The ones that everybody compares them against, though, all women are usually compared against married men. That's who everybody is compared against. Married working men. And that's stupid, but that's how it is, because the demographers and the sociologists aren't asking better questions, except for a few. And so if you're comparing all demographic groups against married men, yeah, I mean, please forget it. Like, it is. Yes, married men in all groups make more than anybody else. Yes, for sure. And that's where you get the whole, like, 79 cents for every job. But if you break it down realistically, like right now in America, black women with college educations make more pound for pound. Single black women with college educations make more money pound for pound than single black men who are unmarried. With or without college educations, it doesn't matter, but with college educations, it's particularly egregious. It doesn't matter because we just don't get hired. And I saw that directly in higher education when I was in higher ed. So it's you just,
There's a stigma.
well, it's there's a lot of other factors, because we live in a multiracial, multi-ethnic society. So there's a lot of other factors that have to be.
Tell all the white people that.
Well, they know. They're aware. The white people are aware. They know. They may not always talk about it out loud. They know. Trust me, they're aware. So you're in the ATL. You're hanging out in the ATL. You're doing what you're doing there. What kind of businesses are you working with? Well, you're working with the dollar store folks, right? And so you started with that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of did a bunch of little side hustles that sort of, I guess, sort of moved you into this advisory sort of idea, right? Cultivate advisors, right?
Eventually, yeah, like 30 years later, but yeah.
Quite a lot happened in that 30 years.
I think it morphed because of the lack of fear that I had to be an entrepreneur, and the openness I had to discuss the experiences that I've had. And curiosity factor, because I think to be a successful advisor, you have to be comfortable with asking those hard questions.
Okay. So give me an example of a hard question you would ask me if you were advising me.
Nothing like putting me on the spot, but
We have all 4 of our listeners will appreciate the answer to this question. We have tens and tens of listeners.
So let's start with what made you decide to start doing a podcast?
Because I wanted to insert myself in the world.
To what degree?
Oh, to the biggest degree I could possibly get with the mouth that I've got.
What's the return on investment that you were looking for doing this?
The return on investment for this podcast is expansion of personal brand. Not monetization at this point, just expanding the personal brand.
Is monetization going to come into it at some point? Is that part of the goal?
At some point, yes.
So what's the ultimate vision?
The ultimate vision is to be bigger than Jesus. That is no, that's not the ultimate vision. No, that's
Good
not
luck
the
with
ultimate
that.
vision. Well, the Beatles claimed they were. Come on now. No. The ultimate vision is for this podcast anyway, not the other podcast brands, but the ultimate vision is to build out a podcast network, honestly, where you would have multiple brands with different, or not multiple brands, multiple different shows, with different kinds of foci that would appeal to different demographics.
So you want to be all things to everybody?
Well, I wouldn't be hosting all the shows. So no. No.
Well, your brand.
The brand eventually would migrate away from me. Like it just will. It'll become its own thing.
As it should.
Yeah. But that takes podcasting is a little bit different because the economics of it are kind of all warped right now because everybody's in the podcast game versus a few years ago when almost nobody was in it and NPR sucked up all of the oxygen in the room. Now that's not the case. The case is 99% of podcasters make almost no money at all. Most podcasts don't go past the 8th episode. we're on episode 12, so we've already broken that curse, so that's great. Well, on this podcast. The other podcasts that I do, we're up to like episode number like 65 or 70 or something like that.
And still building the following.
Oh yeah, I'm still building a following, because podcasting is a long game, not a short game. And so podcasting now is like blogging was back in 2001 to like 2005, where like everybody and their mom had a blog and it was the hot thing. And then all those blogs now litter the internet and no one cares about them. And the ones that made it, and everybody else didn't.
They've turned into podcasts.
No, the mindset is the same. Actually, some of those people should go back and do a podcast. The mindset is the same as it was with the bloggers, but there's not the, as usual, people are focused on the wrong thing.
So how long can you sustain yourself without a monetary factor supporting any aspect of it?
Oh, on the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 10 years.
So you have a plan.
Oh, yeah. Like 5 to 10 years. I can make no money on a podcast for 5 to 10 years. If necessary. But that's not what's going to happen. What will happen is you make no money the first 2 years, and then you have enough content to be able to, and you start monetizing after the first year, but it's small monetization. But you have enough content built to be able to do other things and build out other verticals. So things like books, and we're shooting videos, so you can do videos and all those other kinds of things. Conferences, keynotes, speaking engagements, things like that.
No blooper reel in there?
Oh yeah, blooper reel in there all day. Bloopers all day. But yeah, I mean, it takes you 2 to 5 years because A, you're a needle in a stack of needles. B, nobody knows how good you are. And C, everybody and their mother is you're waiting for everybody and your mother to fall off. So you're fighting a war of attrition rather than a war of victory, which most traditional business models have you fighting a war of victory. You pick a niche and you dominate it and you just run over everybody else. That's not what happens with podcasts.
It's a marathon.
It's just like blogs. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. Like the best podcasters I know, the Joe Rogans, the Mark Marons, the Mitch Joels of the world, they have like 1,000 episodes. And that was before, and they were 300-400 deep before video came along with YouTube.
Long
You gotta be
game.
committed.
Absolutely.
Gotta be committed. And then you can demand advertising dollars and things like that. So we will do advertising on this show. I'll do ad reads on this show and that kind of stuff. And that monetizes it. But you gotta wait.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions that I have for now, but an example of asking the questions. I gave you, what, half a dozen?
You give me half a dozen.
I'll have to start charging you if I have to do
You, oh, wow. The whole entire thing of this podcast is now flipped. All right, well, you're now paying Cheryl. And now she has monetized me. So there we go.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! And that's
Turn
why
opportunity into success.
That's why she's an entrepreneur. That's why, folks.
I'm a hustler, baby.
And she's going to give me some gum. And I'm going to be like, you're on your
For a
way.
fee.
For a fee. 25 cents. It's going to be a quarter for a stick of gum. Actually, these days it would be $1. It would be $1 for a stick of gum because inflation.
Yeah.
Inflation's real.
Well, the local bodegas knew what to do. They sold Lucy's, cigarette Lucy's. You know,
Yeah.
people that couldn't afford a whole pack, you could buy some Lucy's. So,
Well, I think that's all. Well, isn't that what oh God, wasn't it that what George Floyd was doing? He was selling Lucy's on the street. I think that was. Yep. He was selling Lucy's on the street, and that's why the cops in no, not the cops, but the store owners were all irritated with him because he was selling Lucy's on the street, and then they called the cops, and the cops were like, "Move," and they had come out like 12 times or whatever, and it wasn't like they didn't know him. And finally, one day they were just like, they were done with whatever. They were done with moving him off the corner.
then they killed him.
Yep. So, and I'm not saying that that's correct. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying like that shop owner probably wishes they hadn't called the cops. Probably like, you know what? I probably should have just hit him with a broom or something. just move him along.
Well, I understand the guilt, just like the store owner from George Floyd came out and said he wished he had never done that.
Yep.
Eric Gardner, same thing. I mean, why should you feel bad when you're calling for a service that's provided and the service provider doesn't function the way it's supposed to?
Because we have all of this guilt in our human consciousness that just floats around, and that's kind of how we operate. That's how we're socially constructed. Like, we're socially constructed to operate on that basis, and guilt and shame has an evolutionary basis, and so we're gonna.
Except for the narcissists.
Well, you know, the
We need world balance. Everybody can't feel guilty.
no, everybody can't feel guilty.
But those people will feel guilty enough for the ones that don't carry the guilt. They'll
That's
carry
right.
it for them.
Right, exactly. And in a country of 330 million people, like,
There's enough guilt to go around for
please.
everybody.
Guilt for days, I tell you.
So, what is it? Darling, let me tell you something. Flick the long ash. The old woman that had the ash hanging off that could talk, and the cigarette would shake up and down, and that ash would just sit there. A bourbon or whiskey in the other hand.
Bourbon and whiskey in one hand, ash coming out the other.
Yeah, just like out of the mouth. Yeah, those were the days.
Those were the days. Well, that was back in the day. Well,
Yeah, good old days, right?
this has been a good conversation. This is worth your time. This is like an hour. This is good, right?
Yeah, we're over an hour already.
Okay, a little over an hour. 65 minutes. Well, I'll leave it all in. 'Cause it's all good. What
So
do we
what's
need?
next? Is this where we say goodbye?
Yeah, this is where we say goodbye. Yeah, this is where we say goodbye. Yeah, bye. Well, before we say goodbye, how do people get a hold of you? What would you like people to take from hearing you today? How can people help you? What do we need to do to help Cheryl out? And we'll have links to all your stuff if you mention anything. So whatever you got.
If you know a business owner that could use some advice and needs help growing and scaling their business to the next level, give them my information. We do have a 2-hour free session where I can break down the business. We go through a bunch of questions, find out some solutions, identify those gaps, put a roadmap together, take that roadmap and go and conquer.
Coaching,
and if you
listening.
need help with the roadmap, then I can get into the trenches with you. And as a business advisor, I'm that coach consultant together where I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm cheering you along. I'm holding you accountable. I'm asking those hard questions, and I'm helping with the lift of the work that needs to be done. So it's a combination thereof.
Awesome. Do you have a website that we can go to?
Sure. cultivateadvisors.com.
Great. So we'll have a link to Cultivate
And you
Advisors.
can email me at Cheryl at cultivateadvisors.com.
All right. Cheryl at cultivateadvisors.com. We will have the link to cultivateadvisors.com. We will also have the link to Cheryl's LinkedIn profile in the show notes below the player, and of course on the below the player in the YouTube, whatever it's called, thing that exists below the thing.
Below the line.
Below the line on
All
YouTube.
of the information goes here.
Right.
That's where it'll be.
You all need to scroll down to, by the way. You need to scroll down and you need to click on the link to get in touch with Cheryl. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's been hustling since she was like 8 or 10, hustling, everything from bubblegum to now business advice. And so she knows what she's talking about. And what you're paying for is that 35 plus 30 plus years of experience. That's what you're paying for. And it is well worth your time to get 2 hours of it for free. Because yes, you can maybe go figure it out from a book, or yes, you could maybe figure it out from a YouTube video like this one, but it would be a really good idea to get it from somebody who's already done all the hard parts. And so I would encourage you to connect with Cheryl as quickly as you possibly can.
Hurry
now, today. And she's in Florida too, where it's like always sunny, and
except for today, it's raining.
Except for today when it's raining. She has a sunny disposition because she's in Florida, because it's nice,
And I only walk on water when it rains. So when we're done here, I'm going to go walk on water.
And with that, thank you for coming on the Jesan Sorrells Experience podcast. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks, Jesan. It's my pleasure.
Wow, you like that video, huh? That was a pretty good interview, wasn't it? If you'd like to see more of this, please subscribe to the Jesan Sorrells audio experience video channel here on the Jesan Sorrells Presents video channel here on YouTube. Just hit the button somewhere in this thing here. Hit that button and subscribe. You'll get more videos, and when I upload more videos, you'll get the notices. I also wrote a book, 12 Rules for Leaders, The Foundation of Intentional Leadership. Go check that out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble today. And thank you for your support with everything that's happening inside of this box right here.